Sure. I like to yellow too.
Yeah, there we go.
Gets me in trouble, but.
Great. I hope Chair Lyons want to kick us off, or you want me to just?
Take it, please.
Great.
Charlie.
Thank you, council and project management team, for coming out tonight for a discussion of our kind of key priority items, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 that we work on as a team. For tonight's workshop, I know we usually preview things that are about to come before the council or in kind of early stages to get more in-depth feedback, but Sarah and I really thought it would be helpful to kind of give you all a preview of our project management team updates, which to me it's kind of like the Get Smart Fast of just the wide range of city initiatives. Some big that are going to require some significant council input at some point future date, some much smaller which are operational, just kind of good governance thing that kind of brings to the top of our attention. The reason that we created this group of people to work on these city projects is I noticed upon arrival that there was some great work being done around the city by our departments, but there wasn't a lot of cross collaboration or coordination and input from others. So you oftentimes come to something and they'd say, hey, like, I've got some input to that. Like, you didn't realize that there's a big public works component on that, or how much time that's going to take for IT to do that thing. It would start to, or just it was completely out of left field, or I think a lot of times it just kind of goes in the back burner and gets forgotten about, and it might have been an important thing, and it's not until you get a report from some state agency say, hey, what's the status of that? And it's like, oh yeah, like we really need to prioritize that. So I went through a few iterations with this. There was some report outs from the management team and some other kind of internal project teams we were working on, and then almost a little over almost 2 years, a year and a half ago, when Sarah was brought on. Gosh, it seems like a decade ago now. That was one of the things I really stressed in the hiring process, and just, hey, we need to figure out a way to kind of keep track of the city initiatives so we can get aligned on kind of a work plan and make sure we're making forward progress in some really big initiatives. And so we went through a couple iterations ourselves on, okay, let's create a project management team, kind of like a tiger team in the parlance of create a group of cross-functional, highly collaborative, very open and honest discussions, and kind of fast-paced. So this isn't to be like, here's the end-all be-all this subject. It's really to kind of get updates on larger initiatives and start providing feedback as they move through the process. And it's become probably my favorite meeting of the month. Maybe some staff will lie to you and say it's theirs too. Maybe they can reach out to you afterwards. But to me, it's always like I've really, it just shows the wide breadth of things that we're working on, and how helpful we can be as a team to each other. But there's a separate piece too, which is getting the council more aligned to what our internal work plans are in an ever-changing council. I think when Chair Lyons says retiring at the end of this year, so I'm going to be on my 3rd city council chair in less than 3 years. Come this November, December, and we had 100% turnover of the 3 city council seats last cycle. I think there's a lot of things we've done internally as a staff to reduce turnover, to get oriented to our projects in planning and work planning and prioritizing. And to me, really the logical next step is aligning the council and the community at large to that work as well, and getting some level of buy-in. I don't know if at some point for today's discussion, we want to have councilors feel free to jump in every time in these items. Sarah will probably move us along because we got a lot we want to get through, and if we don't get through all of the items, it might bleed into the next workshop. But one of the things that's really important as we think about is, we've got the comp plan, we've had city priorities. There's some things that are like deal breakers that, I'm walking as city manager if we don't keep doing. So like the water treatment plant, if the council really wants to vote down that don't keep spending work on this or time, like, hey, we need water for our citizens. But there's other things like the dog park, some of our trails initiatives, other things that, have been priorities in the past, and things like the downtown restroom, that there's mixed opinion about. And it's really, I think oftentimes, as I've mentioned, people think it's my job to sort of set policy or direction for the city, and I really feel like it's more to orchestrate conflict a lot of times. And those oftentimes can be values conflicts that manifest themselves in projects. I think we've seen that over and over, and I think that's actually a good sign of healthy, robust debate, is when it's not about when the staff or myself are presenting something that, hey, like, this has to be done. It's really, in many ways, of like, this is something we'd like to move forward, or we think we discuss is something that should be moved forward. Should we do it or not? What are the things that we would need to do? I put up there, we think a lot in our project management team in discussing these items and how to tier them is about the public value triad. We don't have a profit motive in the city, and in many ways we do a lot of things that are unprofitable, paving roads and providing schools and education. Expansive view of, is it authorized, which is, does the city council tell the staff members to do it? That's one way to think about authorization. Do we need city council approval for it? Should we be doing up or down votes on all these project management team items and kind of agreeing on a work plan for the next couple of years? To me, that's, an area sometimes where it's, the business community and some advocacy groups and others really wanted a downtown restroom, and it's been discussed, and we said moving it forward. We've had some workshops on it. And then, there was a fair amount of feedback, some questions. It didn't quite get prepared for this season. That could still be in our work plan. We've kind of put it on the back burner. But we need a better system for deciding, is it truly authorized? Maybe it is the city council as the representative of the communities at large. And to me, in addition to kind of previewing the current version of the council with this, so we can get some good updates, hopefully some input and buy-in. As we think over time towards the next city council, I'm already thinking of, like, how do we iron through a work plan that we can get some kind of votes on, giving some people some previews, but this is what we're gonna do, and then as things get added throughout the year from the city council, or if the staff says, hey, we gotta move this so we can have a method for ensuring that these things remain authorized, and that they're good values of the city's time, because the backlog is endless for all of us and the amount of activities we're doing, so. With that, I think for today, I'm going to hand it off to Sarah in a second. Maybe have you passed out the?
Yep.
We're going to go through our tier 1, tier 2. Maybe we'll get to tier 3. We've got a carve out for the city seal for a little bit of a broader discussion. Although we're bringing that back to the city council meeting this August, so this won't be the final piece there. Sarah will kind of introduce each item to each member. They give kind of an update on what the project is, an update on kind of where they're at now, and some next steps. And we'll see how this works in public and with council. I know when we do it in our offices, they're very lively, interesting discussions. I really encourage, like, hey, thought about this. And we'll see. It's always a different method here, but I think yourselves and the community can really see just how much work is being done around here. So.
Our format's a little different, just because we wanted to clean it up a bit and make it a little bit more friendly to this setup, so it does look a little bit different. So here's our list of tier 1 projects, and we're just going to go right through the project manager listed, or project managers might work together on a project. They're going to give a brief update on the or a brief overview of the project, an update of where we're at currently, and then next steps, milestones. So first up is phase 2 ordinance rewrite. Brittany.
So much fun. This project was just added, so I have not presented this at all to this group, so bear with me. For the phase 2, starting off, we are focusing on planning board chapters. So we're looking at chapter 56 and chapter 18. I've split that into 6 phases. So we'll be looking the next couple months at governance and procedures. So that's chapter 56, article 1, and chapter 18, plus the creation of planning board bylaws. I guess the planning board used to have bylaws. I have not been able to surface an old copy of them. I think they went away when the UDO was formed in 2012. So we are discussing bylaws at Wednesday night's planning board meeting. It's going to be so much fun. And
There's
then-
not a consultant on this one, right?
No, it's just internal, because bylaws are basically planning board setting their own rules for their meetings. So, and my job will be making sure they complement chapter 18, and we'll of course make sure there's good legal review and that sort of thing. And I'm expecting that to take 2 to 3 months, depending on how in the weeds and, controversial planning board is setting rules for themselves.
Did the phase 1 identify some things that needed to be updated in phase 2?
Yes, there's a whole laundry list of items sitting in the phase 2 parking lot that are not related to planning board. Those have yet to be prioritized. So that is coming, but I'm focusing on planning board right now. That's an easier win right now. So once we get the governance piece done, we'll move on to the development review. So that's Article 6 and 7, which is our site plan review and the subdivision review, just to help streamline that a little bit better, remove some redundancies and modernize the process. We're looking to find a balance between, protecting drinking water and the city of Ellsworth as a whole, plus making it an easier process for developers to navigate through, and hoping to find that balance. And then after that, we'll look at land use regulations. That's going to be a larger project, depending on what direction we want to go in, whether it's looking at rezoning or just exploring to see if we do need rezoning. And then after that, we'll look into development standards. So that's basically Articles 8 through 10. We are going to take Article 10, stormwater, out of this lineup and push it up to the governance as kind of like a concurrent projects, because we have TA assistance through the TCP program specifically related to stormwater, and we only have that until the end of December. So we're going to try to get the stormwater article and get that up to date by the end of the year. And then after that, it's just miscellaneous, and then general housekeeping and legal consistency. And so we're in the very beginning stages, and the next thing on the docket is Wednesday night's planning board meeting to discuss bylaws. And then next week, we have a meeting with the stormwater stakeholders to review stormwater updates.
I think I would love to add E-code to that as like, there might be a cost.
Exploration.
Yeah, and that maybe that could be considered for economic development, TIF funding, or, but it seems like something that, now that we have our code for the phase 1 of the ordinance in a reasonable format with titles and this and that, like, the next step is getting it to like people who really navigate by developers and searchable, so.
Charlie, are you saying E-code?
E-code, yeah, it's basically,
Portland uses it. So basically
A
it's,
ton of communities use it.
yeah, it's pretty common. So you just like plug in your code there. It's so much easier to navigate and search for things. I think a piece of that too is you can put like planning board packets directly on the website. Because right now people would have to request, but with this kind of software thing, you can just load it up and it's ready to go. It's all organized.
So this is more process and formatting.
Mhm.
Cool.
yeah, just like how it distributes the chapters and just developers are more used to, I think.
These link back to each other, so it's easier to cross-reference stuff.
You can search within it.
Search within it, I think in the future, like when you update and navigate things, you can figure that out easier.
So you don't have 6 different definitions for the same thing scattered across.
Right, or conflicting information in one area that goes to another, so.
Bangor uses it, Bar Harbor uses it, there's a lot of communities that use it, especially for our size, makes a lot of sense.
The other thing with ordinance reform, and I think it's, relative to maybe some of the discussion we'll have at the council meeting on moratoriums for RV parks, moratoriums for data centers is there's, I think there's kind of a question mark on how robust do we want to make this phase two? And do we want to fold it into, a steering committee for comp plan and aligning these pieces and really start to have more of these difficult conversations about further, sure, regulatory environments for specific things, but also in my opinion as well, like deregulating certain areas to make it kind of match what we're seeing the growth in the city and making it, especially when it comes to housing, as easy to add housing as possible. So I think we're currently kind of taking the quieter approach. We use a consultant to fast track the initial phase one approach to really get everything in line and things to be user friendly and state laws and this next step, there's things that are more really politically sensitive, zoning board of appeals, and then narrowing scope, if it's relative to larger housing developments, and can we increase the timelines there? Are there other things on zones, and are they, as we looked at over 10 years, some of the things in the comp plan would take a lot more time, could potentially need consultants that might be beyond staff resources. So I think it's something we'll keep an ear out for, and it's something mentioned too on if we do that type of thing, what things have to be falling off our plans to handle the capacity to meet that type of work. So, any other questions on ordinance?
Yeah, I have one for Brittany. While you are working on this, my understanding is other commissions can be working on, well, the cemetery commission has decided to move forward and work on those, so how does that fold in with this work, or is it just a separate track that?
This is its own track,
Okay.
unless it relates to a different, cross-reference or something. But right now it's separate, and then we can, I haven't set up like a project management system to track everyone else's, but I can definitely put it on my list to explore.
So I assume that they are working, they're comparing with other towns in the area, and then Robbie is their person, their contact person, but I'm assuming it would go to you next, and then of course legal review and all that.
Yeah, and then I'll just help kind of guide it along and.
Okay, so
make
that
sure-
can keep going in its own track while you're doing these.
And it is a separate project here too, as board and commission, like standardization. So we
Yeah.
can take some of these
Yeah.
bylaws and some of these other things, and really be able to provide our boards and commissions packets on, this is how a city of Ellsworth board and commission, like operating structures right now, they're totally siloed, fairly nominated.
Charlie, can you speak up?
Yeah,
Sure.
I can't hear you.
Wow, yeah, there's a separate item for boards and commissions, standardization processes for all of these pieces.
Great.
We are seeing a lot of fragmentation and questions, and, we want to make sure that there's
Consistency.
Yeah.
consistency.
Great.
A question. With, what's the, what? Oh, hold on one second, Pat. When, best case scenario, no hiccups come up, what's the timeline of phase two completing? Like, what does that look like? If nothing pops up in an ideal fantasy
Right.
world.
My estimate for just the planning board piece is 18 to 24 months.
For just the governance and stormwater part, or
For
just the planning board chapters 56 and 18?
For all 6 parts of my chapter, of my planning board piece, that
Okay.
includes governance, zoning, everything like that.
For everything you said.
Yeah.
Everything I went through of that in itself is 18 to 24 months.
And is that the entirety of phase two itself?
No.
No.
This
Okay,
is
so
just
this is like phase
planning
two.
board.
Yeah,
For
phase two is not
section.
comprehensive, it's not like
No.
phase one. It's not a comprehensive look at all ordinances.
We will work on a better organization system set up. This is just, what we're starting with, and then we'll flush out the rest as we go.
Because this is all being done with staff, so we have to kind of pace the work
Yeah.
to make sure we can have the capacity.
This is a glaring red, needs to happen so I can smooth my process, and then I have greater capacity to do other things too. That's why I'm focusing on this.
Pat, did you have a
I-
question?
Well, to emphasize what Brittany was saying, we need to take care of land use ordinances first and zoning, okay? But any commissions and committees that have rules and regulations, they need to bring them before the council so that we can make them ordinances. Like use of the parks, all the various things. If you don't have rules and regulations applied to everything, unfortunately, it's not becoming a nanny state, but we need structure, order, and discipline. You see what I mean? So, but our land use ordinances, our zoning, those are very important, okay? But it's like governance of the cemeteries, okay? But you gotta have rules in place. Without rules and regulations and approval from the city council, it could be willy-nilly. We could end up in anarchy. And we need to make sure that there's a thoughtful process to the whole thing. Otherwise, that could end up costing us more money. Okay?
Yep.
And I think,
That's my thought process.
yeah,
You know what
Pat,
I mean? There are a few things in like the zoning ordinances that, the state recommends that we not have setbacks. I don't have a warm and fuzzy. At minimum, a 10-foot setback on residential properties. Back in the day, we didn't have.
We're getting into that, man.
So-
Although now I'm realizing when I get to work, I keep saying warm and fuzzies, and that's
That's
some kind of
just a
shit.
small piece of what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
We
Pat,
want something that's gonna work right for the people that we represent.
exactly. And Pat, to your point about the cemetery and all of the commissions, there is an ordinance in place, but it's old and out of date. So we do have structure. I don't worry about anarchy,
But it's
but we
it's
have
old
the
stuff.
structure that we're
Eventually,
working
we'll
on
have to
getting
get
it
to
so that
to
it reflects
update.
modern state laws and modern requirements for the cemetery. So we're on the same wavelength with that.
Okay, I'm gonna move us along to city seal, if that's okay. So Carol, this is you're not normally at the project management team meeting, so, I can go through the update, or I can turn it over to you for you to give your update. If you'd like to hear what staff has been working on.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay, so, Roddy's not here tonight, he had a pre-planned vacation, so he provided some updates for me. So we're currently working on developing an RFP for the repair and restoration of the seal, which we expect to issue if we get the go-ahead in the next couple weeks. And the goal is to better understand the availability for restoration options and associated costs for determining the best approach forward, including storage, replacement, repair, all the things. So our intent was to develop that RFP, share it with Carol, Councilor Martineau, and then put that out through the open gov process and see who we get specific, and some requirements would be, they would have to do a site visit, we would rent a lull to get people up to look at the actual structure, or lift, whatever people call it. And they would have, another requirement is that they would have to have have worked with historic preservation, so they have to have a historic preservation
Yeah, I
background.
think that's really.
So that,
really important.
that's, if we were doing this, just at the staff level, that would be the update.
Okay, and I think, when I was working on this, and I've got about 100 hours in this right now, if you, I did put a sample in there of specific specifications for an RFP, but for phase one. Because what you need before you start worrying about repairing it is getting it off the wall. And historic preservation has to issue a COA for that, to get it off. So we've got to find somebody to get it off first.
And COA is certificate of acceptability, or what's the?
I can't hear you, John.
What's the COA stand for again?
A certificate of appropriateness.
Appropriateness.
So maybe, what would be appropriate is for Roddy to take this memo and draft that RFP based on the elements that are in here. I haven't read this yet, I just saw it just now. So, if that's okay with you for the next steps?
Yeah, that's fine. I haven't heard anything from Roddy on this project in a year.
Well, I can be honest that Twyla lit a little fire under all of us because she was on a flight home and sat next to somebody that specialized in historic preservation of buildings and things, and you can tell the story, I guess, I don't need to say it.
No, just, I mean, they were interested in, you know, they're like, is it gonna go out to bid? I'm like, I don't know, so I brought it back to our meeting, and then we decided from there that it would be a good idea to put it out bid.
Yeah, because it was identified in the CIP as a project, although not a year one funding, it's really important this is part of getting it to funding. So
No, I understand.
making sure that we do these things and get this, you know, an accurate funding estimate so that we can program either mid-budget cycle or as part of next year's budget. So it feels like taking the work that you've done, creating a draft RFP that's in our OpenGov system, sharing that with you to make sure that that's appropriate and it has all the elements that you wanna see, and then posting that over the next couple of weeks. And then coming back, if we get it posted in the next couple of weeks, we could come back to the September meeting with a proposal for award.
And I think some stars are aligning here as well, and thank you,
I
Council.
can't hear you, Charlie. You let your voice drop really low and I can't, so sorry.
There's some stars are aligning, I think. First, thank you for bringing this really into the tier 1 category. I think Roddy and myself and others, we've been focused on a lot of things, and that piece fell down a couple years ago. It's like looking okay, but especially reading your memo and the comprehensive history on in the 80s it got repaired, in the 90s, and then 30 years go by, really not much anything. The repairs that were done might not have been perfect, there wasn't a plan moving forward. You're at a 100-year point, this is extremely unique.
I think this may be the last time we get to do this. I mean, this thing's gonna come, just from, I haven't looked at it, but just from reading what's been done to it, there's been pieces that have come off every time they've taken it down. It's been, it's been compromised by sanding and chemicals and a whole bunch of other things that shouldn't have been done to it. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I mean, I don't know what the Historic Preservation Board was doing in the 80s or the 90s. I don't know what but I've got some of their notes, and I cannot understand how they could have allowed what was done to be done to it. I can't expand my conception. But, be that as it may, gotta get it off the wall.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, some of the stars aligning things is, you know, Cara sent us the Revitalize Me grants that are really funded from the state of Maine, projects that are of this scope. I know also Amy talked to a group that's involved in our sciences, done historic preservation stuff. The person Twyla talked to, I'm sure you know some folks too. So like getting this RFP out there, to me, could also help dictate like what we put into this grant memo. And we have good contacts in the state in this area too. So really making a hard press on hopefully getting some funding. I think the key inflection point for me is this. I think you're right. This phase 1 could be the basis for the RFP. But that we want to make it focus on the removal, takedown costs for that.
And storage
As like the near-term aspect, but then also I think hopefully like what they would anticipate the restoration work to cost, because I think with this grant, we want to put as much of that information in there.
Oh, absolutely, but you can't do that until you get it down and dry it out and look at it. It's gotta be professionally assessed.
So if we're looking at like early October for the Revitalize Me grant, I wonder if we'd be able to get the information on what the risk.
I don't know that we need that much information to apply.
Okay.
We need to show that we have a need for it, and we can do that based on Jim's prior assessment, I think.
Okay.
I'm just,
Well, I think you need to, if you get the RFP out and come back with a number for getting it down, that would draw what the necessity would be. Because if somebody comes back and says, hey, I can take that thing off the friggin' wall for $2,000, then, you know, that's a lot more doable than somebody comes back and says, well, we can get it down, but it's gonna cost you 50. That's another predicament. So getting the RFP out and getting some data back that we can compare and look at, I think is gonna be
But having the
critical
first step
to
of the
the
RFP
decision.
to analyze it
Right.
with the appropriate people that are
Yeah.
looking at
Now, I just wanna make it clear, and I've been agonizing over this too, my dual role here, okay, as councilperson and chair of the historic preservation. What I think, I have to step back from one voting aspect, I do, I have to step back from one voting aspect. Ethically, I'm really bound to vote as the council person, so I'm not gonna step back from that. I'm going to step back from voting on when you send these COA applications to preservation, I'm not going to vote on them because I will have helped formulate them. So I'll be voting on a plan I came up with, which is, not ethical.
And it might be nice to say that also in the council meeting, so it's reflected in the minutes, just so.
Yes, you're absolutely right, that needs to be said every time I talk about this. Yeah, it's hard to switch hats, but I've looked at it really carefully, and what I can do for you folks who are doing the actual groundwork is I can write the specs and I can point you in the right direction. I can't recommend vendors or contractors as far as recommending one choice to do one thing rather than the other, I can only do that within the bounds of the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for this. So, I think as long as I step back from that COA vote, I think this will be okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have to analyze like the scoring committee of the RFP submissions too, because there is an aspect of, I'd like some guidance from the historic commission on some of those aspects, but we don't typically open up scoring reviews outside of staff, so it might just be, you've already provided a good guard, in previous work in the historic restoration, so we should have what we need and it'll really be more of the final approval.
That's one of the benefits of doing it through OpenGov is that you can put all the scoring criteria in there from the outset, so it's pretty ironclad, how people score.
And that could be what we
yeah.
seek yours and others' guidance, like what criteria should we judge the vendors on.
Yeah.
Not describing them themselves.
Great, so the next steps will be, we'll draft that RFP and share it and get it in OpenGov. And just by way of process, I would say this is, a really, a successful way to approach the CIP as well, to make sure that projects just don't linger on, that they get, and that it doesn't just get dumped into one funding cycle, having some funding for an RFP and evaluation to get really good cost estimates. I really enjoy that. Okay, back with.
Can I just ask one more
yeah.
question? So when you get an RFP done, when you get it finished, it goes out into what, the ether, or do you send it to specific?
It does not get sent to specific. We can, once it's posted, so what happens is we develop the RFP, we post it live in OpenGov, so any vendors who have registered will get a notification. Amy posts it on our website, so, and it normally specifies what we're looking for to give some more context to it. At that point.
At that point, we do, like, in this case, I'd probably,
Send it
at
to the-
Twyla, like, we don't do any pre or trying to scope the RFP to match a specific vendor. We may ask, like,
No,
clarifying. But once it's public, we want as many people, if you know people, send it to them. Twyla will send it, we'll probably send it to
Da Vinci,
Da
yeah.
Vinci as well, and just probably ping the Historics Commission of Maine and.
And say, hey, if you know people, and drive them to OpenGov, yeah.
I do know there are resources as far as people that are qualified to get this down in Maine, but there's also a lot of them in Massachusetts. If we need to go there for some reason, I just don't know how far this reverberates, but, okay, yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Great. Back with Bill.
Yes, for this, as many of you know from sitting in on the last council meeting when Reagan gave her kind of final update, and she did focus quite a bit on Beckwith Hill. She gave some recommendations in there, and that's really what I wanted to highlight for this meeting. And this is what I would say if we were just staff going around the table too, because a lot was shared, and that will, Amy, I keep forgetting to send it to you because she just sent it to me, but if we can get that on the TIF page, that'd be great, like her PowerPoint and slides that she handed out to council. Thank you. Beckwith Hill is currently capturing approximately $630,000 each year in tax revenue, and the total capture year-to-date since its inception is just over 11 million. And she did highlight this in her presentation that we're in our final 5 years, and it's capturing at 67%, but it was structured such that it's going to go down next year to 50, and then 40, then 30, then 20 in the final year. So that reduces the the 630,000 by quite a bit in our last year. So, and she just reminded us in that presentation that when we choose not to shelter TIF, Ellsworth loses approximately 64 cents on the dollar of tax revenue. So we have to think about that. She was kind of recommending, I think she, not kind of, she was recommending that the council consider amending the Beckwith Hill TIF to allow for 100% value capture, given our CIP projects and how much it could just go directly toward that. Instead of allowing it to go down to 20%, just bump it up to 100% for the final 5 years and hit those short-term and mid-term projects hard that are allowed. And a lot of them are because they're infrastructure-based.
And I should note too that we established those other new TIF districts and they have the same set of allowable expenses in there, so as those are building up revenue in those areas at the expiration point, we might be able to just switch some of those activities, so you're still getting the tax shift benefit. And then there's a question too, on I think a 20-year extension under 75% of the TIF districts.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And so then, 2 examples of that, and there are many more, and if you remember, we can get them to you again, but she had handed out, she spent a lot of time drafting like short-term priorities that TIF could fund, and then midterm ones, or what you call them, yeah, midterm priorities. So for example, if we did this, it could fully cover the installation of the water supply cistern and dry hydrant at North Ellsworth Public Safety Station under fire. And traditionally, TIF it's been hard to use TIF funds to pay for fire and police needs, or in this case, capital improvement projects, but she believes that if we amend it, it could pay for that. And another example would be the paving and fencing at the police station. So these are, TIF funds can go toward that. It's not coming out of the, what am I saying? Yeah, general revenue or bond, right. So it's just an easy way to kind of match what we are capturing to projects on the CIP list that would help us move it forward faster. And then the second really big recommendation was thinking about in 5 years that the Beckwith Hill TIF will sunset, and we have the opportunity to extend it for another 20 years if 75% of the TIF revenue is used for affordable housing or transit-oriented development. Freeport just did this for transit-oriented development. They extended theirs 20 years. In our case, I think it makes more sense given the need we have for housing to put it toward affordable housing. So we have a little bit of time on that, but not a ton. We should keep
Yeah,
thinking along
and
those
how we
lines.
start thinking of that now, I think of the courthouse road, and it's, there's a tag in there for development infrastructure due to outside the district, housing, transit, or even things that are just pretty simple like Boggy Brook. We're in for $750,000 with a match from the state for $750,000. That project alone.
Bayside Road.
Sorry, Bayside Road. Boggy Brook's another.
Yeah.
No, Bayside, that's gonna be, an enormous amount of funds to, once we get the engineering done for that as well. So these are potential uses for just infrastructure projects that are already in the works too.
I have a question. Can you only extend for 20 years, or do you have some flexibility on the amount of years? Could you do it 10? Could you do it 15, 5? Or is it kind of?
I don't know. I'd have to find out. When I looked it up today, I was curious if you could split if you could do like half transit-oriented development and half housing at 75, you might like 35 or what, 35? And I couldn't find anything on that. I think it has to be one or the other, and all it references is 20 years. It doesn't necessarily give the option of less, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't ask. I don't know.
Other TIF questions? You're up next with TIF Task Force.
Okay, so yes, we're working on this, and I guess we have to decide too if it's going to be called a task force, or what was proposed at the time of the new TIF districts was that it would be called a review committee, and it would be established to provide advisory review, financial oversight, and strategic alignment for the use of municipal TIF districts and funds, and that it would serve as in an advisory capacity to the city council and not exercise independent spending authority. Its purpose is to evaluate the proposed uses of TIF revenues, monitor performance of active districts, and recommend priorities that support the development plan. And then the suggested membership is 7 to 9 members appointed by the city council, reflecting financial, economic development, planning, business, and community expertise. And a committee would meet quarterly or more frequently as needed, and they would comply with Maine's Freedom of Access Act and be publicly noticed. And there's an annual report provided by the committee to city council summarizing the TIF revenues, expenditures, project outcomes, and recommendations for future investment priorities. So yeah, I'd like to bring that, hoping to get that, I think we had said on the August agenda, right? Or not yet?
Maybe September.
Maybe September,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it's pretty much ready to go, but I don't know how much, like, I thought maybe we were gonna workshop this tonight, so, but that's fine if September.
Yeah, maybe we try to bring September workshop. Let's do that as its own thing.
Okay.
And then we'll have a
Excuse me. And then you want to like ratify the committee at the September meeting?
Yeah, I mean, we should have, well, no, I don't think we can,
Including
because
membership or just?
I think we need to put, we need to allow a few weeks anyway because 2 of the seats are a representative from, it could either be the Ellsworth EBDC, or it could just be someone from the business community, and then the other one is an at-large resident with relevant experience, and that's kind of a very broad term. But we would want to allow people time to submit their letters of interest, and then that would be presented to the council as well.
Okay.
And hopefully,
At
I
a
mean,
following meeting?
right,
Okay.
yes. Other than that, it's the city manager, and this is following what other towns and cities do that have TIF committees. City manager or designee, finance director, economic development director, planning board member, city council liaison, so that'd be, someone from you all that would want to serve on that. And then the last 2 would be from the business community and an at-large resident.
Yeah, and to me, this kind of goes back to, gosh, I wish something like this had been around since they established this, and then we wouldn't have to be doing so much work to to figure out a lot of this data that we needed to consult necessarily to go through this piece. And I think moving forward, priorities for this would be, the audit of the current TIF districts where we're at. We have probably a substantial amount that hasn't been spent in the economic development category that have been generated by the TIF districts. So analysis of that, really looking towards the next budget cycle when we get to TIF and funding and items, and this is the recommendation of the committee as part of the budget process. I think that'll be important, and like an accounting, so that you all have better track of this, and then that 2030 cliff that we're gonna hit with this and should be redirected to housing. Like, to me, this is a kind of committee or commission that could kind of a task force that could really start setting us up now for that 2030, so that it's not, oh my gosh, we need to spend the next 9 months crashing on this to figure out what to do before that tax shift hits right back on. So,
Anything else on TIF? Great. Eric, you're up. Water plant replacement.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the new superintendent for the water department. So the update on the new water system, Woodard and Kernan has just submitted this new updated schedule to the state. We're looking at design basis report due at the end of October, 60% design at the end of January 27, 90% design by the end of March. Bid set also at the end of March, bid opening at the end of April. Hopefully construction start in June of 27 and end construction end of October 2028. At the end of this week, as a part of the preliminary work, they're putting in another test well up at the treatment plant facility to look at soil types and for the future aeration part of the treatment facility. That's happening on Friday, and at the end of this month, August, the pilot plant will return the last week of August and the first week of September to do more coagulation and other operational chemical and filtration media studies. So once that's done, that's really the lion's share of material that Woodard and Kernan needs to do, sit down and actually do the design of the filters, coagulants, rates, and that sort of thing. So it's coming along. It's been a steep learning curve for me, so it's a lot, but it's good. Really excited about this project and to be here for this. It's really.
And one of the other things with that project that has been added recently is originally when the plant was being considered, there was no consideration for the staff to be at the new treatment plant, which that's changed now. So the design will incorporate office space for the staff, locker room for the staff, the same thing we have at the wastewater plant.
Which kind of goes into the next item, that was kind of born from Eric's work with the team when we were evicted from KDAS. So, which it's a really nice long-term solution, rather than trying to find a rental space or squeezing in a place that doesn't really work or fit for their operations. So he worked with the team, and that seemed to be the best long-term solution, to have a permanent home.
And at some point in the future, we'll need to look at having some sort of satellite shop in town, because that's where the majority of the work happens. So driving back and forth 10 miles out to the treatment plant if you need a tool or something, and then back to town isn't really efficient. So, you know, part of the upcoming plans that we're going to consider is having a space in town that they can have tools and meters and things like that that they need in town without constantly having to try and drive back and forth all the way up to Bloodsport Road to the water treatment plant all the time.
Similar to the seal, we should be probably looking at pump station point. Amanda really corrects us when we get it wrong. Pump station point, it's a city asset that's sitting there, not really being used to its maximum capacity because there are some safety concerns with it. But should we be looking at doing an RFP evaluation of what it would cost us to get that up in a usable asset for the city, or to get rid of it?
That's on my list.
It
It's
is.
on my city-owned list.
What is it?
It's where the old water company office used to be.
Oh, so it's office, it's,
Well, it's a
It's a-
It's
beautiful
on Leonard
brick
Lake, it's this
building.
old beautiful brick building that says, I think.
I would like to live there.
Yeah,
I
it's
was,
really
when you
beautiful.
say get rid of it, we need to be clear, you mean repurpose it out into the world.
Right, have it not be an
tear it down.
asset of the cities to be responsible
Right,
for.
Yeah.
that's what I thought you
And
meant.
it's a historical.
Yes, that's what I meant.
It is historical building.
Yes,
Ah,
If I may, it is a historical building.
yes, absolutely.
But, you know, it would make somebody a nice place.
Yeah.
Because kids want to water from.
There's a place for canoes and kayaks.
2.5, one the other. You gotta look at, can we revitalize it to be able to use for like like Mike was saying, in-town area to work on for materials and tools and support of the system.
And we already do that.
That's what it's
Should we-
being, yeah.
Should we relocate someplace else?
It's
Okay?
being used for right now, Parks and Rec is storing their equipment there.
Mhm.
We are, as part of the water department relocation, putting some storage, workshop type area on site, but there's very limited use of the actual building.
This, yeah.
It is, the building is in a lot of disrepair. You know, it's a case in point of previous administrations way beyond us. They had kicked the can down the road.
Yeah, and to give you some background on that, like, to how we got to where we're at now is mold, ceiling issues, the water department had to get out of there in a hurry.
So
Leases
is
the Payless
it better
shoe
for us
store.
to dump a lot of money into it and possibly not still have anything? Or, you know,
Yeah, and that's,
I really don't want to, I really don't want to get rid of a historic place. You see what I mean? But you gotta look at the cost effectiveness. You know, and we don't need to go I've already spouted off in the past about leasing property. We have property. Okay, we have places to be able to put facility. And kudos to Eric and Mike about expanding the water treatment plant so that it'd be like the wastewater plant. You have a place for the employees to be able to, you know, take care of the stuff.
Eric, do you want to give an update on the relocation out there?
Certainly, so we, I've rented a office trailer, which is pretty satisfactory, has 2 offices on either end and then a common area in the middle. We had that delivered about 50 days ago, and then getting power to it was a little more of a ordeal than I originally thought it was gonna be, but we got power about 2 weeks ago, and thanks to the hard work of Jason and his crew, we were able to get IT and comm communications last week, so today I actually got to sit down and write reports in my own office, and I even had a view, and it's really nice. I think it'll serve us well, and it gets us next to the treatment facility itself, which means a lot more eyeballs will be on the treatment equipment, the analyzers, the filters, chemicals, things that when you only have one person there on a shift, you just have more eyeballs and more folks who can help with the situation. And when you have management and other folks there, you can view things and maybe correct things earlier than otherwise they might linger. So I'm excited to be up there. The current facility.
And you'll have a permanent facility once it's all done.
Yes, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very nice area out there too.
And a little preferable to the old Payless shoe store that could hold 75 people and had 3 desks.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's cost effective, it's less expensive than rental.
Yeah, actually, it's good.
So in some ways, we're coming to the solution that we probably should have had a while ago. And also big props to Eric, Mike, Amanda, they really stabilized the ship staff-wise over there. Got a great team, and I know
You're
seen some things,
doing
like some
great
training
things,
stuff we're
people.
doing.
You're doing great things.
With the new kind of program to get the team's new water quality certificate, or water licenses, so, excited about that project too.
Me too. They started, they're on their 2nd class going into their 3rd, so I think it's being well received.
Okay, office relocation. This is the departments of City Hall. This kind of came out from a couple months ago. There were some safety concerns about people kind of going into offices that weren't really public facing in some regard, meetings being interrupted, things like that. So we had a discussion at council meeting. So we, actually our code enforcement officer, deputy code enforcement officer said, why don't we just put all of the public facing services downstairs and finance and administration upstairs. So we have done that relocation. The last of it was happening today. So in the old city manager finance area is code enforcement, assessing, and economic development and planning. And upstairs is finance, and city administration. We've relocated. So the final steps of this is Amy's gonna work on some wayfind signage internally here with our new branding on it, to let people know where they need to be going. I think for the most part, people have, I think it's, last week was a little, like we had quite a bit of traffic upstairs for code and planning, and I felt so bad whenever I had to say, sorry, I have to go back downstairs. But this week it's been pretty quiet so far. It's only Monday. But that's it for that one, I think.
I think this is gonna be a big value add for the customer now, for our most customer-centric areas, right on the first floor, walk right in, staffed appropriately, and, but also, I think, you know, Twyla's, taking a lead role of really aligning economic development, planning, code, assessing, and, you know, it's kind of a mini version of this team that just focuses on those pieces of the project, so that, you know, soup to nuts, that Twyla, myself, other people are bringing developers in, but then they get put into that pipeline to, you know, get into fruition. Where there's just walk-ins, I think there's 11 housing unit permits pulled last week,
Yes.
in line with new state law, so we're seeing a lot of development in the city of Ellsworth still. We wanna keep the gas on that, but we need a system that, you know, can guide people through this process, and I think, this physical relocation will actually, go a long way for that, so. Taxes and your registrations, your other things, but you can also just pivot, 5 feet away and get all your business needs done as well, so it should be a good project.
And as always, all departments are kind of available to meet with the public, but you just need to be, just let us know. And we are more than willing to meet with the public. Anything on that? Okay. Mary Lane Extension Construction, this is Mike and I. I've been working with Kleinfelder and the state to some degree about an amendment to the developer agreement. And Kleinfelder has been working on kind of the peer review of the construction documents. Kleinfelder is an engineering firm that we hired to help us with the peer review and with the funding, a cost tracker for this project. So Andrew McCullough has finished the construction docs. Mike has put them all into OpenGov. Tomorrow we have a meeting with Andrew and Kleinfelder to finalize them, and they should be put out to bid by the end of the week. That's our construction schedule. I'm sorry, our bid schedule. To have it put out to public bid or private bid, by the end of the week, with coming back to the council at the September meeting with either the preferred vendor or a cost estimate for public works to do the work, or a hybrid of both of those things. So really excited to be moving forward with this project. The timeline for construction is about 4 to 6 months. We're hoping on the 4-month schedule, so that gets us way ahead of the developer agreement. That does not include any upgrades to the intersection that will be required as a traffic movement permit, but that we're hoping if we do move forward with a private contractor, it could just be a change order to that work, because it would be a similar type earthwork that they would have to be doing.
And big props to Sarah, who really helped negotiate with the state judiciary. Big props to the judiciary as well on some of the intersection changes and what would have been at the Surrey Road, and you know, their commitment to fund traffic movement permit and larger intersection upgrades. The state has authorized up to $415,000 to be contributed to those intersection upgrades, and then I think we're trying to codify too another 30 to 40,000 on the intersection itself. Right now, there's no crosswalks as you can go there, so that will be, and then it's, you know, the preliminary designs we've remained DOT on a substantial positive upgrade for that entire intersection as it's navigated, that all being feed and seed, narrow furniture, key bank. So we still have a bit of negotiation there, but big thanks to Sarah and the judiciary on funding the project, and much money better served here than on the Surrey Road, in an area that needed an upgraded infrastructure anyways. If you haven't seen lately, even since the groundbreaking, oh my goodness, what a difference, 3 weeks makes.
Yeah, they are going great guns up there. We provided them with their temporary power, so they had temporary power. Obviously, the construction road was put in. And since then, Sargent Corporation, Bowman is doing his general contractor. They have done a serious amount of clearing and bringing in fill, and have been sending some submittals our way in terms of what they're looking at to put in for infrastructure for the courthouse itself. So yeah, this project is moving at pace, and I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to the city of Ellsworth.
I would say that another key piece to the developer agreement amendment is the letter of credit. We asked the judiciary to go with a letter of credit rather than an obligation bond. It was going to save us initial upfront cost. And in that discussion with council, there were some concerns about how they could draw down that letter of credit. So as part of that, there are some requirements about how the judiciary can draw down. They have to notify us about why. give us some time to rectify the problem before they can just draw that down.
Yeah, they can't just pull you.
We have not issued the letter of credit yet because we're still waiting for the final inked signature. But as soon as we have that, the banks have re-upped that negotiation, so we're fine with that. Anything else for Marilyn? Twyla. Well, Robert, but Twyler's gonna give the report out for short-term rentals.
Yes, Robert had a prior commitment tonight, so he asked me to let you all know, in case you didn't see online, Amy did post this already, that on August 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. there will be a listening session about short-term rentals, and as it says here, as Ellsworth continues to grow, the city is exploring whether a short-term rental registration and safety inspection program should be considered. Before any recommendations are developed, we want to hear from you. This is what was posted online. Community input is an important part of the city's decision-making process, and this session is designed to gather perspectives before any recommendations are brought forward. And so during the evening, participants will learn why the discussion is taking place, hear a brief overview of STRs or short-term rentals in Ellsworth, visit interactive input stations, share ideas, concerns, and suggestions, and help shape the conversation moving forward. No registration required to show up, and Robert is inviting the council to attend along with the public, not necessarily in your voting body capacity, but as just to observe and hear what everyone is saying and to give your own input. And he also wanted to share that he has been reaching out to multiple software companies that manage short-term rentals. OpenGov is an option, but it's very expensive, and he has found some that are designed for our size city, not like OpenGov is what maybe New York City would use, or but like it has a lot of capacity when it comes to short-term rentals, and we may not. I don't think we need. He doesn't think we need that much going into it, so he could find something for a lot cheaper, like probably 90% cheaper. He said it's like 4,000 to 5,000 instead of 40,000. And GovPilot is the one that he's looking at the most, but he's still collecting that information. And then he said he thinks there would be another listening session this fall, depending on the feedback we get August 10. Maybe do, like I said, one more workshop and try to have something ready by the end of the year to bring back to council. So that was kind of his report on this item.
Amy, we are gonna be posting a survey also for folks who can't participate in the listening session. So the survey is gonna kind of mimic the tabling exercises and things like that. So we have a draft of that's been circulated to the team to finalize, but Tracy wanted me to ping you to let you know so you can maybe think about where and where we're gonna push it out.
Yep,
So I think the team is finalizing that. Hopefully, the goal was to get it out in advance of the listening session, so people can do both if they want, one or the other, but yeah, so we need to get it posted this week. So, I think, Charlie, you need to get your eyes on it, and I know.
Yeah, I've got a draft of an email with too much changes, but I'll get I'll pull it down. One of which I think we need kind of like an intro of like the why, on kind of, hey, council, we've been discussing this, and it's really in the initial stages. I think we're focused on registration system, a potential registration fee, and maybe a small level of compliance for safety type issues. And even that's on the table. Like, nothing has been decided. There's been no council votes on this. Like, we're looking for input on those three as well. But at the same time, we know that there's some folks that are on it, do none of those three things and do no regulation of the short-term rental market. I'm actually more in that category. If we're going to do a registration system, like, let's actually pay for it. But, and we have some folks that are like, we need to regulate to a very large level. There's some communities around here that have limited it to only owner occupied. And while we're not necessarily considering that as kind of phase one here, it really is a conversation about that registration system, registration fee, and safety compliance features. We acknowledge that there are a wide range of opinions on this too, and really want to kind of hear all of those. So consolidating the feedback through the surveys, through these. We will be doing a report out in the August meeting on just the feedback from that session. But I expect this to be one that people have, very strong opinions on both sides and in the middle. And we'll keep reporting back to council. This will not be the end of the workshops on this one. Once we have a system identified, we'll go forward too. But, and to see if this is where we want to be, gather the data, see where we're at. I mean, to me, this is, some reports in the Bangor Daily News of up to 1,000 in Ellsworth, from a couple of hundred, 6-7 years ago to almost 1,000. It's a fundamental change of the housing market here. To me, there's also a revenue sharing conversation. The state has 9% of the lodging tax that's coming from the gross of those. I'd really like to see the state kick some of that money back to the communities that are affected by it. I'd rather not have to have any registration fee and just have it exclusively as a cost sharing from the state of that revenue they're already pulling from the Airbnb activity. So to me, there's some other things and talk more revenue sharing aspect of these, but all of that needs to be on the table.
Anything else on short-term rental listening session?
No, if you have, the only thing, if you have any questions, just reach out to Charlie and Sarah for council anyway, and they can pass it along to Robert.
You're up again with Erky.
Oh my, okay, so, we received let me back up a little bit. Like 2 months after I was hired, we, being Hancock County Planning Commission, Healthy Acadia, and the city, applied together for a community action grant, the Maine Won't Wait initiative, the Community Action Grant 2025. It took a very long time because it's partially NOAA funded, and some of that funding was put on hold. It took a long time for it to be approved. All of us who applied were in the same boat. And we just found out at the end of June, and it begins July 1, and we have to wrap it up by the end of May. So it's less than a year now because it started late. But part of that grant was, again, looking at Erky as a possible food hub, like not necessarily food itself flowing in and out of it, but anything from an information hub for Hancock County around food, or we could look again at it being a commercial kitchen, like just lots of things. So we had kind of put that on hold for a while because we're fully, every office is being used right now, and it's generating, enough revenue for us to be income neutral and even probably income positive this year. But now that the grant came through, we're like, oh, we have to do this. We have to look at this again. So there is money for a consultant, and then Healthy Acadia will be kicking in the other half of their time to do this together with the city. But I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar, that we're kind of resurrecting the Erky Reimagined idea for purposes of this grant, and it may end up, being really worthwhile. So either way, we have to.
How much is the grant?
It was only $74,000 across 3 organizations, and this particular piece was only $5,000.
This is the second time we've gotten this grant. The other time was to match for the BPI.
I see.
It was,
Okay.
we received the Community Resilience Grant some of our match for the BPI.
This might be a stupid question, but in the spirit of when this is not on, or we often ask stupid questions, but can it be used for, like, if we wanted to imagine it as a restaurant? I've thought lately, like, you kind of dead end at the marina, and we don't have any waterfront restaurants in Ellsworth.
I don't think this particular one.
Lobster Paw.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But not that you can pull up a boat to.
I think there are
You
other
actually
ways.
can.
Make that into a restaurant.
There we go.
Yeah, they have a dock.
There are like coastal.
Lobster Paw you can get to.
Yeah,
There's some.
I have canoed there before.
Yeah.
Canoe I would take. I wouldn't take a motorboat. I wouldn't take a motorboat.
No.
Actually, I did that with the Florida Water Superintendent, so that was a ride. Okay, well, it's a good question.
No, it's
So-
not.
Confirmed.
I mean, there are other grants for
Confirmed.
that, but
He
that is
really,
one.
he really wants Chick-fil-A.
Oh, the waterfront Chick-fil-A? Oh, Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
You're both wrong.
Yeah.
I just want to, as we're listening to the conversation, we got the grant, so this is opening up an opportunity that it's just 5,000 of that to explore
Yes.
how we might use that facility, and that's all it is the consultant to look at opportunities. And I don't think that, a retail food establishment there is not a bad idea. That is a really unique waterfront property. So how broadly do we look at this as part of food system, or if it's a commercial kitchen, will there be sale options? The farmer's market is there now. There's, I think, opening it up really creatively to look at
Yeah.
what a higher use of that building might be. It has some real value.
We're supposed to develop an action plan for converting it into, from Erky to a headquarter for a local food hub. So I'm not sure that a restaurant, unless it's like a co-op restaurant or something that's like.
I mean, food hub, we talked about,
Yeah.
I mean, can mean
Yeah. It could
a
be,
dozen
right,
different things. So
Yeah.
something with retail food is
yeah.
part of the, it would be an interesting part of the
It
conversation.
would be, and I think we will be building for sure on what the Down East Food Systems Partnership has already done.
Right.
And so, yeah, but that's a good point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just talking about like turning into some kind of restaurant or co-op. I'm also aware that the rec department has had issues, the harbor has had issues finding a part-time food vendor there even, so that's,
Oh, that's a really
that's
cool.
a concern I have about pursuing it too far. I understand they are fundamentally different, but
Sure.
that has been an
Yeah.
issue.
Good point.
Not to play
What was that?
Nelly
Oh, dear.
Downer or whatever, Debbie
Negative.
Downer.
Nelly Downer.
Well, you're telling me you got $5,000 to study turning it into a food hub, or
Yeah.
something of that
Well,
sort?
it's building on prior work. I mean, we have another grant, not related to this one, I don't think. I forget what that grant was that they got, the Down East Food Partner System. But yeah, we're coming back with some recommendations, and Healthy Acadia is stepping in as well. It's exploring economic, logistical, structural, and other factors to launching the space as a food hub. I mean, I don't think it has to be, I think it needs to be a final report, and then, you know.
All I'd like to point out is there is a lot of unintended consequences here. So, we have moved our human resources people down there, they're well established in that building now. You've just said that all the offices are rented in that building now and either income neutral or revenue positive. And so, for me personally, my opinion, we finally got that space to where it is stable. We have done a good job at creating more space in City Hall and getting human resources into a spot where they can have the privacy necessary to deal with personnel issues and not have people listening in their offices. And now we want to look at maybe possibly trying to do something to convert the whole building into something different. And I'm sorry, but I am 1,000% against that.
And I think you're right in so many ways in that, Mike. And in some ways, that's been this whole pivot of this last year. We're not doing the biotech, like, it's, kind of a WeWork for shared office space. Let's try to be as, but I also think we do have to keep up, like, the highest use of that really unique asset.
Waterfront property.
Waterfront, and like, if it could become a tourist draw to really draw people in, support, but as part of like the longer term thing with the Riverwalk that connects the marina to the downtown, the Village Partnership Initiative. So we gotta keep our eye on, yes, you're right, for the next few years, but let's start looking ahead, and this isn't like, get the plan and let's change, unless it's like, oh my gosh, or it would have to be as simple as,
Because I can get on board with that, like,
So maybe I just.
trying to
think
figure
that's
out the
what
best
that
use
is.
of
That's what
that
it
building
is,
and
yeah.
how it ties into the
Yeah,
Riverwalk and
right.
could it, yeah, I
That's what it
am
is.
fully on board with that piece. But if we were just going to look at doing something of a lesser extent,
No,
I am not.
No, but
No.
I
I don't think that's what it
think,
is.
I'm with Mike. I'm with Mike.
I'm gonna make you a shirt that says that.
Located, the water district, leave them alone. From what I'm doing the numbers in my head about the grants, yeah. And then be realistic about the Riverwalk. Come on now. Maine Shellfish is not gonna leave the river. RF Jordan's not gonna leave the river, okay? And honestly, I just, you know what I mean?
No.
And all,
No.
all this talk about removing the Union River Dam is a bunch of whoop. Because they removed that, what's gonna do the long-term impact of everybody's electric bills? And not to mention our rates of property taxes. Think about the long-term consequences. Think about the long-term, bigger, huge picture. This turning it into a food court, a food thing, and the numbers don't jive to me. I need bigger numbers that jive.
But that's not what this was, right?
No,
I'm my impression.
Numbers.
Look at the bigger picture.
The main
We've
goal,
already moved the public to the water district down there. We got HR in place. Let's keep utilizing it the way it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise than that,
Sorry, one second, Pat, what do you have to
put them
say?
all
I
in
just-
City Hall,
I-
everybody's crammed into a closet,
Okay,
and guess
my
what?
turn.
Guess what? No. Okay?
So, well, I'll go quiet.
What did you expect? Hurry up, don't go.
So my understanding though, and I may be misunderstanding, but, is that this grant is just to basically talk about what might
yes,
be
For a portion.
appropriate.
a very small portion of it is just for this, but
Right.
now that we have state and federal funds given to us, we have to use them.
Right.
According to what we said we were going to, and that was last August.
The other partners,
It was a
right.
year ago, a lot has changed in a year, but it was given to us now, and it wasn't our fault that it was
Okay,
delayed.
Right.
Okay.
Can I please, because we have a
Yes.
lot of folks that have been waiting, that,
Yes.
so I'd like to just move us along. Strategic trail planning, do we have any update on that?
Oh, things have been put on pause, and that's all I have.
Okay. Capital improvement plan, we have, I think Ronnie probably would have given, he has some, looking at a larger connected trail, parks, outdoor learning initiative, for a broader vision for the parks and recreation. I think that has some of the trail integration.
It's a separate
Master
workshop,
Trail
that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's a
That
really
was
big
the-
vision for Ellsworth Trails.
We were applying for a grant with FBC and some pieces, and I think we put a pause on some of it.
Okay. Capital improvement plan, we had a discussion at the last council meeting about that. Some direction was given to move forward with what, projects we should come forward with for a bond package. That'll be at the September meeting. You've updated the plan. Amy has created a website, a webpage on our website for that plan. Our story map should be up there. It is beautiful, I'm sorry, a beautiful page on the website. Our story map will be up there very soon. Some of the projects had to get updated. And that should be, as we like to say at the project management team, we can check that off soon.
I'm gonna create a.
Check it off, Liz, but it's now gonna be staying with us a lot more conversation with council.
We can check off the initial, process for developing a capital plan, the
Yes.
methodology. What were you gonna say?
I'm gonna create an RFP to have ready if the local roads that we've selected are gonna go forward.
Yeah, sure. That's a great idea. And the sidewalks.
Yes, sidewalks as well.
Yeah. Knowlton Park upgrades, there's been a committee, an advisory committee that's been working on the design presented by Game Time and developing recommendations for modifications. The committee has been focused on value engineering, improving ADA, and making sure the play features reflect the interests of Ellsworth youth. They plan to meet with Game Time in August to present the committee's first rounds of recommendations, and continue refining the design, remain on track for final design, being brought forward in early fall. Bayside Road, Mike has developed the RFP for engineering services for the design of the MPI, for the first phase of the MPI. That, it's live, out, ready for bid. We've already had a question on it. That will come also at the September meeting for award.
This is just for the design.
Just
design
yeah.
and whatever is left over for minimal construction, whatever we can do. Because then once we have the design, the full cost, we will phase that based on the $1.5 million cap on MPIs. So then we'll know how many more MPIs we have to apply for.
This was, yeah.
And MPI is Municipal
Partnership Initiative.
And that was a $750,000 grant match that Sarah secured with the state for this project. And
Yeah.
a little backup, that's, gets this road to built status over time, and then the state, once it's at that status, will start taking care of it on a more regular basis.
Well, Bill, keep evaluating it to maybe take care of
Bumps it
it.
up a tier.
Yeah, it, well,
No, not necessarily.
if it gets to
Great
built,
job, Sarah.
thank you. If, you're gonna get a t-shirt that says that too.
I think
It gets it up to a built priority 3, which gets it into a 7 to 10 year cadence. If the volumes continue to rise and the uses on that road continue to change, it could, now that it's built, it could get bumped to a priority 2, which gets it into a more frequent maintenance cadence. So, worst case scenario, it's a built road with a 5 to 7 year maintenance cadence. Best case, it'll get bumped up to a priority 2 with a 5 to 7.
And it won't be the most horrible potholed road that we have in Ellsworth. Although I know a lot of people would.
It'll have paved shoulders under drain, like if
We're gonna look at a multi-use
gonna be
trail, pathway on it,
possible sidewalk.
things like that.
Hi. So the 750 match for the state, that doesn't include the design, this is a separate,
So this MPI is for the design to bring it to built status. That is part of that 750, so that, it's gonna cost us probably $1 million to design the road.
Now with the money, any money that's left that wasn't expended on
Design.
engineering, we can try and pick a small phase of the project to start construction.
And then we'll have to do multiple phases.
phases with more cost.
Yes.
It'll be the same thing every time, so
I
it's
see, okay, so-
750,
Yes.
next one 750, 750.
The same was done on Christian Ridge, it just was a much shorter segment of road, but there was, the MPI for design and construction.
And this is one of those ones too, where you see like the magnitude of the scale of this problem, right? 750 to $1 million on just the engineering on a single road, of which we have dozens like this in the city of Ellsworth, with 279,000 in road sharing from the state. Like, you know, to get, and a decade of disinvestment in the city's roads. So to get caught up on this, you know, this is the scale of the magnitude we really need to be talking about. I know a lot is talked about with the $14,000 branding initiative, and we can weigh the pros and cons of that, but this is what's going to be driving a lot of the cost increases in Ellsworth. And it's something we need to talk to the state about revenue sharing on, and road sharing. And that, like, we weren't expecting the extra 2 million people to come to Acadia, and they're now using this road as a bypass cut through on an unbuilt road. It's putting an enormous amount of, there's 23,000 trips a day on that bridge.
And there's only, this partnership is only eligible on certain roads. It's not like we could ever do it on like Red Bridge Road or anything like that. Like, it's only on state aid roads.
Can you remind me where the starting point is? I know the ending point is Beachland.
Washington.
Washington Street, okay.
So, yeah, this is,
That's gonna make so many taxpayers happy
Yeah, I mean,
to get that road up to standard.
And the bond the bond is being paid for with TIF.
yeah, and the TIF specifically calls this road out, so.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say every time we talk about it, and consider, what is the phrase you all have used here? New road, same speed limit. Concerns, one thing the horrible condition of the road does is keeps people from going.
We just talked about that today, that as part of the engineering, design and evaluation, we will look at speeds, and if there is a recommendation to the state, because the state sets those speed limits
Right.
to reduce them.
Road dieting?
I'm serious.
How dare you?
About the reality of, we all drive faster when
I'm
the
not
roads are
opposed-
nicer
I'm
and
not
water, and
opposed
you've
to
got
putting
line of
speed bumps
sight.
in.
So, well, we talked about, I think in an earlier meeting, I mentioned something to Sarah about traffic calming, and she was very polite and said, well, this is actually the opposite of that. But finding a way to acknowledge that people will go faster, it is gonna be a concern. So any way that that can be incorporated into the design as well.
Added
Yeah, already has
police
plenty of
presence.
speed bumps now, right?
That's
Well,
what
they,
that
well,
was.
they, and that slows people down, exactly.
Well, is this where you can use like added police presence to this area,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
Make
enforce
some money.
speed immediately after
And-
construction.
And there are some landscaping design that might help with speed to, you know, make it feel like people wanna slow down a little bit with, and design elements, so. But new black pavement, people really do like to go over it.
Skateboarding.
Okay, facade grant.
Okay, I'll make this very quick. We have 10 approved projects that we've been working on. One has been completed. We have 4 that are active and 3 that are pending, and 2 have withdrawn. Well, they just ended up doing the work on, like, themselves, and it wasn't that much money, so they just pulled out of their match in the grant, so that's where we're at.
Twyla, would you back up? 2-sentence narrative, is this the thing with Heart of Ellsworth and it's for downtown facades? What
It's not
is
with part of
this?
Ellsworth, this is CDBG money from DCD, sorry for all the
Yeah.
acronyms.
Community block grant.
Yes,
program.
thank you. And we got 100,000. And so, like, the 4 that are active right now is Pyramid Studios, active in that, you know, we're at different phases in having the work done, like evaluated and done. Pyramid Studios, Fogtown, the Grand, and so, yeah, and then we have a couple more in the
Okay.
queue, but,
I just needed that context. So
Yes.
this is-
yep. And we have until next summer to spend
Okay.
money.
Okay, so the people that have withdrawn, are you gonna hold another round of applications or look back at the applications that were already submitted and review those?
I
or-
mean, it wasn't, in the case of, the
There
sweet
was-
spot, it was just like a gutter, it was, because
it's-
the way the water was falling, it was freezing in the winter and people were like slipping on it, so he had that redone, by mainly vinyl, but he ended up doing it out of his own pocket because it wasn't that much money. And so his facade grant wasn't even that much, we're just gonna hold that for like extras because it's gone up so much now, like the original quotes that were
Just
given
keep
for
it
this
as
work
contingency.
are more
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anticipated.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
thanks.
I'll go quick on the next 2. Track custodian update from Amy and team on status of the vendor, and I know we're targeting the fall to really get into the field replacement. I'm up to 54 on confirmed pledges, and I've got 86 on my prospect list right now. For some additional fundraising, I'm still working with Amy and the team on what, you know, I've got pledges, what, including from Pat Shea, thank you, counselor, on, you know, what the price point's gonna be for those, you know, banners on the back of the track, you know, for that sponsorship, a scoreboard sponsorship, the lane sponsorship, and then we'll have kind of a general, like, pledge area, looking to target kind of like an opening event, with the city at some point. Roddy and I had planned on hoping to try to fast session before, so we could like kind of tear down the field and have a big campground down there and really destroy it beforehand, but it didn't quite seem like we had just enough time for that, so we'll look to do that maybe on the football field when that looks needed to be replaced. We'll do something with it like that, so the idea can still have merit. So that's proceeding apace. I'll try to give a much more robust update at the next PMT once I've had a chance to talk to Amy Bowles and Josh Frost, right, not Jack,
Yes.
Josh. Engine 7 apparatus replacement should be good to go. We had the council approval on that and updates there. I know Scott's still waiting because we haven't drawn down from the band yet for the replacement, so I'll try to get Scott for next time he's here. I don't know, did he give you any other updates, Sarah, for the energy?
No, it's on track. We did draw down, but we just have the check waiting to be delivered to the vendor. We're on track for the early April delivery. A couple of the senior leadership in the fire department are gonna actually go to the manufacturer in December to do a site inspection of the apparatus. So I think, and then just get scheduled with the IT and communications integration to make sure that when it does get here, it's ready to go. Jason, if you're listening, Streetlights is up, but Sarah.
He was paying attention, of course I was.
Always listening.
So if you recall, council approved acquiring the streetlights from Versant last fall. Construction began a month ago, 6 weeks ago. They currently have replaced 421 of 507.
That's it?
And we expect to have it complete within the next couple of weeks. The current issue, they've replaced most of the lights except for High Street, Outer State Street and Bangor Road. They need a bigger truck to do that, and they're working around scheduling for that truck, so it'll be a couple more weeks. Next steps will be getting in and learning the smart controls, and then putting out an RFP for ongoing maintenance. So it's just about wrapped up.
What will it look different as a result of this? What will people see?
So the lighting is, the color of the light is very similar to the old sodium bulbs. But if there were any LEDs that were already replaced, those were pretty bright white. So this will be a uniform old color, so to speak. And that color temperature is more in line with dark sky friendly designs. So the other thing people will notice is there won't be any lights that are out. Which is the big complaint right now.
That is a big piece.
There's a big complaint right now, there are a lot of lights that were out. So, but yeah, as of right now, most of those have been fixed. I mean, there's only a small number that are left, so. It's coming along pretty well. The contractor's been great. So.
That's why I stepped out there is just a visual representation, like we didn't have lights in this parking lot. And you say, I think these are now working.
These haven't been replaced yet. They have temporary lights still here.
Temporary
They haven't done
lights.
these ones yet.
So do these ones, that's what we.
They've done the ones along like Church Street, School Street, so those are done, but the parking lot hasn't done.
And then once we get the system up and running, we might have Jason kind of preview for the council, like how is he going to monitor this in real time, so we won't have issues with light outages that we don't know about, and then just somebody complaining, and that's kind of the mess that we'll actually be able to know. And then hopefully be able to do cool things like for the Christmas tree lighting, turn off these lights for a quick second, turn on the Christmas tree for the big reveal, and then, turn
Should
it
be
back.
significant energy savings too, correct?
It is a big energy savings. I don't have the numbers handy, but it is a big savings. We can even go as far as to dim the lights after a certain time at night if we want to, so we can save even more energy that way. There's a lot we can do with it.
They're called multicolors and there's.
We can't do multicolors. They exist. We
I think that's a good call.
So yeah, it's been an interesting project. I've learned a lot, but it's I'm glad to see it kind of wrapped up here. So,
Cool.
and we should have a few years without having to worry much about them. They come with a 10-year warranty anyway. So first few years should be pretty uneventful.
Great. I'm all for uneventful.
Thank you, Jason.
Cool.
Library renovations. Sarah.
Okay, so I don't know how many of you have seen the news today. Yay! No. We are now in a continuing resolution situation. So we are on pause until November. Sarah! Yay! It just gives us more time to plan.
What a bait and switch though.
Yeah, it's not done. I already met with Colin's office today. As soon as I read news this morning, I was like, and I called Carol, and I can't say it on camera. But
Oh, right.
They were just like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Does it mean what I think it means? And she's like, yeah, we're waiting until, nothing will happen until November. Yeah. So there we are. So I'm using this as a little, I pulled some stats that should hopefully make everyone feel really good about the library project. So, year end, we do our stats by fiscal year for the state library. In fiscal year 26, we had over 11,000 participants come to programs, which was up 6.4% from fiscal year 25. We had 77,852 visitors, also up more than 6%. In fiscal year 26, we collaborated with over 30 community organizations, presented over 753 programs, and issued new library cards to 800 people. Woo! Yeah. So, yeah, really good. And that was even, all of that was lower than the previous
year. We had done better the previous year. So I feel like we're like, okay, we're still holding out against the whole of the internet. That's what I think about. You know, yeah, you gotta choose your battles. So we did a garden party last week as part of it was our first ever donor recognition. And we gave a little preview of renderings, so I brought them tonight. And I wanted to also remind you what's going on in the building right now. In the past 3 months, May through July, we have had I had to write them out so I didn't forget anything. A failed boiler, a broken AC unit, a leak in the roof, leaking pipes in the restroom ceilings, a broken elevator, and a broken radiator in 3 months. That's why we're doing this, because I can't do it. We had to fundraise, we did a spring appeal for the first time ever because I can't start our fiscal year with zero money in our building maintenance line, using it all in July. Yeah, so let's look at some renderings, so we can dream for just like a minute. Okay, so I know you all like props. So on this one, the green sections are renovations, and it doesn't include things like HVAC wiring, that kind of stuff, because then everything would be green. And then the additions, new construction is the orangish. That's that one. And those are here. You can pass it on here. That's the 3 different floors. This is the new, people kept wanting to know what the lobby area looked like. You walk in this new entryway. So that is, this area right here is where the current circulation desk is. This is currently where large print is. Sorry, I didn't want to reprint. We're trying to save on color printing, so you get what I had. This is the new entryway. Kind of small, even though it's big. We're still fine tuning this. I don't like the railings. I have put my trustees in charge of coming to historic commissioners to speak with you all soon. Hopefully I will do that soon. And then this is a little bit of a view of, here's the glassed in kind of teen area to limit noise. Here's a new conference room over here that can be bookable, and then the new extended space out on the riverside. I also want to put a little balcony, like seating area out over the river. Yeah. So all of these are still drafts. We're still kind of fine tuning, but.
And how is your capital campaign going?
We have not technically announced it yet.
Okay.
We're in the exploratory phase, but we do have 8 members of our exploratory campaign committee.
Awesome.
We are meeting with GFA about weekly. But yeah, it'll be silent for a year. But we will be trying to raise $1 million.
And what's the total project cost?
5.8.
So that's supposed to be you. The library patrons look very happy.
I was supposed to see that. You'll see my favorite person is, oh no, my favorite person is in this one. Did you notice this lady right here?
She's awesome.
Yes, she is. She's like sassy. Yeah, I noticed her.
I was like, Mike, where did you find that lady? I'm gonna hire her. And her cardigan with like a little pearl button.
Any questions for Sarah?
I have a question that is not about this, but it's I know that you have programs for really young kids. Do you have any programs that are geared towards young children with special needs?
Not specifically. We do something for older. We get teens and kind of young adults that's called the friendship group. So we have most of the people that come, quite a few individuals that have Down syndrome or autism.
Specifically, I was asking because my grandson is autistic, and he loves books. I mean, reading is his thing. But a lot of commotion is good for him, so I
Like a low sensory environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we do have, like, moving group would not be a good fit. Today we had 70.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but like one of the smaller story times on one of the days that there's like the Head Start program, that morning story time is smaller and there's like 15 people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Check into it.
Thank you, Sarah. Sue, you're up.
Oh, I am?
Going to tier 2, right?
Yep, we got through tier 1.
Yeah. I had to leave, I'm sorry, my kids are home basically not right.
Thank you for that information.
My husband's in a meeting, he's upstairs, but, you know, not paying attention.
There we go.
All right, so the surplus properties, the last meeting, as everybody knows, I presented what we had for foreclosed
Bye, Sarah.
properties. Bye. And that, where that is right now, that list has gone to the Realtor. She is helping me to find these people. And then I will get the letters out, and I'm hoping by next week that those letters will all be out. And while that's going on, legal is working on drawing up a contract for the Realtor. And also, while that's going on, I am working on a binder of city-owned property, not tax acquired. And I was hoping to have it ready for the next council meeting, but I don't think I'm gonna make it. There's just so much information. I don't think I'm gonna have it ready in time. But, it is an ongoing thing, and I will get it just as soon as I can, hopefully September, but that's really where I'm at right now.
Any questions?
Maybe we'll try to go a little faster, put tier 2 just for the last 15 minutes.
Okay, and just a note on the tiers, it's not in order or by priority. It could be the speed, like the street lights that came up fast, that has to be acted on swiftly. It could be that there's already been authorization for it. So these move around a lot, just so everyone knows. So public comment and question process, this is a brand new one. This has not been discussed at the project management team yet. This really has been put on here because there's been some discussion internally about how to address the questions that are asked during the public comment period or during other points when staff or counselors are approached with questions. How can we develop a process where it's not a real-time back and forth at meetings, but also where questions can be answered and given publicly so that other people that might be having those questions will also have access to the answers. We do get some questions during public comment period. We get emailed questions individually through the city website currently that it probably would be good to post those answers. So people, I know that I've been emailed questions and my answers get posted on Facebook. So that's one way that my answers get out there. But thinking about having a repository so that we can track questions that are being asked and also provide answers to the best of our ability. Not meant to be a interrogation, a public interrogation for staff to have to constantly be answering kind of questions, but when questions are asked in a reasonable, respectful manner, answering them. So Amy has developed some framework around
You said it all.
We had this planned out really well,
We
I
did have
just
it
messed it
planned
up,
out.
I'm sorry.
No, that was perfect, Sarah. No, thank you, that was well said. So, you know, you're right, we have seen that residents do often raise really thoughtful questions, be it at meetings or through other channels. So, some of them can be answered immediately, some need follow-up and research. So, we're really looking at a way to put this together. So, you know, like Sarah said, we have a successful contact us form on the website. So as those questions come in and the staff have a workflow to get them answered, you know, let's look at what they are. And maybe we could identify opportunities. It could be a website story or even some form of a PSA or any kind of a frequently asked question. Because, you know, when it comes down to it, if one resident has the question, chances are others do as well. So we've started the conversation. It's in the planning stages. Really, the takeaway goals are, you know, that residents know where to ask questions, staff know how to respond, questions are tracked until they're resolved and nothing falls through the cracks. Yeah.
Right on, sister.
Thanks, Mike. I'm with Mike.
Yeah, I think this is a new information stream. You know, I think we've gotten a lot better at transparency, these workshops, trying to get as much information as you possibly can get out there. But, you know, my first jobs out of college was as a staff assistant on Capitol Hill and just doing constituent services and drafting letters from questions from citizens and putting together. And we had 2 or 3 people in the office that worked on that. So we're also trying to figure out how to, you know, as these come through, how do we have a better process for providing timely information? We can't drop everything on a question. We have one citizen who's pinging 4 different departments over the last 2 weeks with really complicated, long-form answers. Like, we can't in every moment just, you know, drop what everything we're doing, spend 4 or 5 hours like trying to answer a question. But certain things are more immediate, and we need a kind of a tiering for, okay, let's filter everything that's come in. Here's what's immediate, here's what's middle term, here's what's more long term. Here's what you should go through the FOIA request process, because it could take a lot of staff time to figure out that answer. So.
And letting people know where they can find their answers and when they're going to be answered.
Because sometimes we're not the authority to answer a question.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the state, sometimes it's another organization. They think it's a city question, but it's not a city question.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we kind of have a backlog that we're trying to get better at. I know in Congress, once you have a backlog of like the frequency of the questions, it's just, okay, pull it up in this file, this question's been asked before, copy and paste it over. We've somewhat started to do that through the CRIM system, as I noticed there's just such a huge uptick in council requests, and you know, a lot of that's driven by citizen requests. So you know, we track that, we catalog it. It takes a lot of my time, but at least I know there's not too many things falling through the cracks. But we need to do the same things with citizens at large, so they know the processes for this and access to the information.
And provide information so that we are providing the information. That it's not being provided, misinformation isn't being provided everywhere.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, this is part of a huge communications upgrade that since Amy's arrived has been pretty dramatic in terms of all of the projects that are being notified of you know, public work stuff, and I know Amanda and Mike are in this, and Eric all the time on citizen response requests for things, putting things out there, ADOT initiatives, all of the communications around all of our meetings, all of the additional press stories that kind of highlight, gosh, if you saw us last weekend on the new tennis clinic that Robbie was able to spin up.
Yeah, it turned good, huh?
It turned out to be
Turned out
great.
good.
All those things like library initiatives. I think one of our biggest things in the entire website now is what's the event calendar? Yodel. Now you can go to one place and find all of the events in the city. There's just so many awesome things going on in communications right now.
So there'll be a lot more to come on that one.
More to communicate.
More to communicate.
Well, so if I could just add, I mean, a lot of the questions that come up are not simple. These are, you would, if you had the answer at all, you would have to go search it out and look for it. It's not something that can be answered on the fly. And again, like I said, last time this came up, council can only answer for themselves. You can't speak for the other 7 of us. So I think that has some issues. So.
Yeah, and some of them will be a little bit more like political. Like, why doesn't the city do
exactly.
X? Or why is the city doing Y? It's like, well, that's a complicated question involving, you know.
And that's not the answer that people want when they ask those questions. What they want to do is argue.
Yeah, or the answer may be, we may not do Y, or we may do this. Here's the opportunities for it. It's not, yeah, it's. But if you have a good process in place, this is how we respond to things, this is what they're, I think it'll make that piece easier, so that when you're, I asked this question, I wasn't gonna get an answer. Well, this is the Ask Ellsworth email site, and categorizing it, and just being more diligent about it. And when there are questions that, like, that's not a question we can answer, we can process it.
Yeah, I think it needs to be noted that these are staff answering questions, not the policymakers answering the questions. You know, that, we're just a resource. So, okay, I'm gonna move us along, emergency management plan, Scott. They are revising the emergency management plan framework by the end of August of this year. This will be coordinated citywide project addressing emergency operations and departmental continuity and continuity of government and supporting annexes. So they're just looking at a comprehensive rewrite of the emergency operations plan, revision of the department continuity operations plan, and the city continuity government plan. This will be developed over the next couple months. A working group will be put together, and it will be updated as needed or as identified. That's all I have for that. Branch Lake Dam. This is Scott. Oh, sorry.
Goodness, notification.
Amy, you read her whole thing a minute ago.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
I'm sorry. Well, it really.
A Doppler mass
flows
notification,
nicely
Amy.
after the management plan, this is in its testing phase. At this point, we have asked all of our employees to register and to, you didn't yet.
I know, I just said it.
See, I'm not with my head. I know, thank you.
Oh, we're still there, don't you even worry.
So we are, yes, so it's our city notification system. Okay, the vendor's called Doppler, right? We're not gonna really use that term out in the public because the community doesn't care about the word Doppler, they just wanna know that
It
it's.
sounds like a weather.
Sounds like a weather.
Yeah, so, right, okay, fair enough. So we are in the testing phases. I have asked our employees to sign up, and only 27 of you guys have done so far, but I can name them.
Who's already signed up?
Brittany probably raised her hand.
Brittany's so adorable. So, and the key is we really need addresses because we want to test part of it, right, Amanda? Like the whole geo-targeting aspect of the system. So, and I would love to invite all of you folks as well to register. So I'll send the link. You may have seen it in the newsletter, but if not, it's okay because I sent you guys a newsletter too. But it's already. Read my stuff. Okay. So I've completed my first training. I'm getting a second one scheduled, which we're going to get recorded. So really, once we've got confidence that the system will do what we want it to do, then we'll start putting it out to our citizens, right? And I have a flyer that is gonna go into our bills, right? That the utility bills with the QR.
I was gonna say, tax bill already went out.
Yeah, we really aimed it at utilities, the ones. So you know what? Yes, it's for public works, but it's also for other mass notifications.
What is it used for?
Yeah, it could, you know what, thank you, Nancy, it could be for storm closures, or holiday hours, or information like the cooling centers, or a water break, or a road closure.
The user can select what they want, how much they want to receive, right?
No,
No,
it's all-
that's like a second
Okay.
tier category, I think that's,
so what it is, see, is
Sorry.
you sign up
Just set
with
you
your
up.
cell phone number, and if you are able to give us a civic address, then we can go into the system and like, say, you know, we can just circle the road that needs to do a boil water order.
Like tomorrow, they're doing that culvert work.
Yes, that's
So you
right.
could just circle Bayside Road, and then anybody on Bayside Road.
We'll get the text.
Who's signed up and registered, they'll get that text, yeah.
Or if it was something that the whole city, you just send it out to everybody, but you can do it area specific.
Yeah.
That's
Is it
why we need the address.
just for Ellsworth?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, no sense in my signing up.
Well, sure, you could just
Don't
use.
you want to know
just-
what's going on?
Well, it-
When
use
you're
your-
at work.
I think there could be a lot just like full blast too, it's like, hey, we're
Yeah.
having a special meeting on some bond thing that's important. And I think that's where we're gonna have to decide too.
We gotta be careful with that.
We wanna focus on public works type things or closure or
Saturation.
Well, we
really.
don't,
Yeah.
you're right, we don't wanna have Doppler fatigue. okay?
Right.
So one of my best friends lives in Brewer, and they have a version of this. Now, I have reached out to the Brewer city manager, and Eric hasn't called me back yet, but whatever. So, we wanna make sure, so she gets way too many. So she's like, oh, here it is again. So we wanna be careful not to have that fatigue of sending it out, every time something big's happening.
But it'll prevent against anarchy.
This is so great, because right now it does feel like Facebook's really the only place to go, other than the website itself. And it's a toxic place to be, so I love that there's another way to get
And I
notifications from
think
the
also
city.
narrowing it to like emergency things, like, I don't know if there would be weather-related ones, or you're talking about like City Hall is closing
Yes,
at noon.
right, so if we're
Okay.
closing
School
early.
closures, they could opt in for.
I mean, I think all of those can happen.
Okay.
It's just up to us, up to Amy mostly, to say, okay, is this one that we wanna put out as a mass notification? Like, the book club's meeting tomorrow at 5, like, we don't need the mass notification. We don't need, cause like she said, if you're getting 5 notifications from Doppler every day, you're gonna be like.
That's the thing, I think this is,
Unsubscribe.
it's part of
Yeah.
a larger, like,
Yep.
obviously citizen communication. I mean, Amy's already putting these things out on Facebook and social media and our website and then pinging the news media. And it just, you just like, oh, why didn't I hear about that? Why didn't I just, some people have this expectation because I think of social media and other things that like everything that's happening in their lives should be served to them individually in the way that they want it. It's so hard to reach all those channels. So we gotta try as much as we can, see what works, see what doesn't. I could see a system that is a little bit more like, check it if you wanna see book club, this, that, the other thing.
Well, if you guys all just wanna hand this around, scan it, and sign up.
Captive audience.
I don't bring my cell phone to meetings.
But,
And it won't
Love this.
replace all those other methods either, because like for boil order notices, everybody has to get a notice. So like if it's in a certain neighborhood, the water crew goes door to door with papers to their house. So that's not gonna stop because of this, because not everybody's gonna be signed up for the mass notifications.
And it's something Amanda and Mike have worked really hard on in the public works team, and Eric to a lesser extent, obviously too. Is that kind of notification, letting people know, hey, this thing's happening, because if not, it's like, what in the world are they doing with my water? Is it terrible? Is it toxic? Is it this? It's like, no, this is scheduled, or unanticipated, there's a leak here, this is the reason we're stopping your water for the whole system's purposes. And also the Doppler is also for like our off hours, let's say something happens at 12:30 in the morning, we still have the option, people can call in here and get routed to Doppler 24/7.
I already did it.
To put in service requests, that gets routed if it's really important, they'll call Mike in the middle of the night, or they'll call the police department, to make sure those things are handled.
And there's another aspect with OpenGov, and as our asset management system gets more robust and we're using that on a more regular basis, there might be an opportunity, depending on how frequent we get calls for like things that are broken or things that need to be fixed, to integrate that with our task management. So I think that's a good place to stop.
Can I ask one last question before we stop on this one?
Yeah.
Amy, is there capacity for a person to put in 2 addresses if they've got a
Yes,
residence
there is.
and an office?
Yes, there is.
Great.
Thank you. Yep.
So yeah, like we'll stop there. There's some more. I want to get through tier 2 and tier 3. I might bring back. We'll probably hope for a little more wrap up. And there's like stuff on the end. If you want to go to the last project slide, I don't know. Yeah, there's some things that some moratoriums that just passed. That is obviously nowhere near the housing initiative being proposed. The Wardwell property first refusal concept we talked about. And how we're getting to the end of the road construction project. Sure, there's going to be things drop off. There's things that are in the all of the fire hydrants as part of the OpenGov piece, the comp plan steering committee, some additional asset management pieces and digital modernizations that probably need to be on the docket. So, and I'm sure at the city council too, you have things that probably you might say like, why isn't that on here? So
Right.
CO wasn't as high of a priority before. Now we prioritize that. How we prioritize it going forward. Also looking towards that next council on like, how do we get kind of a solidified work plan? And when things come up, hey, we should do that, or the cars thing that comes up, all right, what's the process we can have where the council says we're gonna move forward on handling this, or if this steering committee, like, how do we decide that so it's not so much selfish, the city manager trying to read the tea leaves of what to do forward?
Right, right.
I'd also note, we're just seeing so much growth in the city, and I've often thought about, Bangor and Augusta in some ways are less growth than us. They experience growth at different times. They built systems to hold that capacity. Ellsworth is like shot to the front of the line as more growth than Bangor and Augusta, more population growth, more housing permits according to the state survey on housing permits poll, current evidence. But we don't have, like, I think Bar Harbor has 4 planners. And these other places, like, they have so we're a pretty scrappy, but awesome team here, doing an incredible amount of work for the city. And, it's such a pleasure to work with these folks. And looking forward to kind of moving these things more to council and continuing our modes of transparency and modernization, and just improving quality of place and work. All these things really matter to have. We might go unseen to make sure your drinking water is okay, that your road is being prepared. And it is tough trade-offs. And I think the state needs to do more too, and we'll get to some revolutionary ideas that I have moving forward.
And you're all always welcome to attend our property management team.
And I'm sorry to Marina and Tabitha, I noticed I just talked to these 3 the whole time.
You talked it up. I was included, thank you.